What is good? What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Pick Six channel. Let's talk about it. State of the Steelers 2025 edition. Was it not inevitable that we were going to get a 2025 edition? Okay. So before we even get into State of the Steelers, let's break down the game just a little bit. Okay, very briefly. Bills dominated the Steelers 26-7 at Heinz Field at Pittsburgh. Okay. The Steelers had the lead at halftime. What did the Bills do? What does any good team do at halftime? They make adjustments. Clearly, the Steelers didn't make a singular adjustment because the Bills came out after halftime and completely dominated the Steelers on both sides of the ball. That's all there really is to say about the game as far as that. The Steeler fans booed Renegade. Steeler Nation booed Renegade. Now, for those of you who don't really know what Renegade is, that is like a pillar when it comes to Steeler games. Okay? Whenever Renegade comes on, that's when the crowd goes crazy at Heinz Field. That's when towels are waving like crazy. That's when there's a lot of noise being made. That didn't happen on Sunday. That's how bad of a game, how bad of a performance that it was on Sunday. They booed Renegade. Now, I've never witnessed Renegade live, okay? I've never witnessed it. But I know it holds some significance to Steeler Nation. That's how much I know about it, of it, I should say. They booed it. That means a lot. Okay? That's one thing to point out as far as the game. Undisciplined football, once again. Said that plenty of times. Offense can't do anything. They just couldn't move the ball down the field whatsoever. They had a singular touchdown. They had a singular scoring drive, and that was off of a short field. They were able to get to Buffalo side another time, and that drive stalled out. That's all there really is to say about the offense. I mean, I don't know. We're really expecting that much out of the Steelers offense this season. I'm actually surprised that there were some games that they were putting up points. So, yeah, I don't know. 7 points, that ain't going to cut it. They pretty much did nothing for the most part because, again, that one scoring drive was on a short field. Defense can't stop the run. I don't know how many times I've said that this season. The Bills set a Heinz Field record on Sunday. That's ridiculous, man. That is ridiculous. And what's even more worse, what makes it worse, was that they pretty much ran the same stuff over and over again. And the Steelers had no answers for it. The Bills weren't doing anything crazy. They didn't have to get super creative because all they had to do was run the same play over and over again. That's terrible, man. That is terrible. Another thing that was terrible, like the towel I got back here, was the play calling. Why on 3rd and 9 do we decide to run the football? That is a terrible play call. And by the way, they had 4th and 2, I believe, after that because Kenneth Gainwell actually did pick up a solid gain on the play. They had no intention on going for it on 4th down. Now, I am not encouraging going for it on 4th down in that particular situation in your own territory. But if you're going to run the ball on 3rd and 9 and you're just going to punt it away, that's almost like giving up on the drive. So I don't know. I don't even know what to say about that. And then they did go for it on 4th and 2 at some point in the game. I believe it's the one time that they got to Buffalo side of the field. And they ran a shotgun play that was a run. Like, what are we doing play calling wise? That was terrible play calling. And it's on both sides too. Okay? The schemes defensively are not good either. Play calling, offensive play calling is not good. Defensive play calling isn't good. James Harrison, Steelers legend, Debo, Steelers legend, wasn't having it with the Steelers play calling on defense. All right. That's all I really need to tell you there. So the game was terrible. It was terrible. They had the lead at halftime. Bills did what a good team does at halftime, that's a just. That's it. Steelers didn't do it, which isn't the first time that that's happened this season. We saw it against the Packers game. Steelers were up by 2 possessions in that game at halftime. And they wound up losing by 2 possessions in that game. Both those games, by the way, happened at Heinz Field. That holds a little bit more weight, I believe. Okay? So that's that. That was really the game. And they decided to play an injured Aaron Rodgers, who's now 42 years old. And I don't know, man. It just didn't seem like he was healthy enough to get the ball off, to throw the ball after he got strip sacked. I'm not even sure why they had him in the game after that. He was clearly injured. He was clearly hurt. He might have even gotten a broken nose. I don't know, but his nose was bleeding. That leaves me to question, man. Is an injured 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers really the best option that you have? Now, this is no shade to Aaron Rodgers. None at all. No shade at all to Aaron Rodgers. But you do have other quarterbacks. Will Howard. He's a quarterback under the age of 30. Which is something I guess the Steelers don't like having for some reason. In this day and age of Steeler football. I don't really know what it is. I don't think maybe it's not the right time to put him in because of all the stuff going on with the Steelers. Honestly, man, it seems like a dumpster fire in Pittsburgh right now. Maybe they shouldn't have Will Howard play. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't be against them giving Will Howard a shot. I do believe that it is worth giving him a shot at some point. Maybe not this season. Maybe it's next season. We'll see what the Steelers decide to do there. Now let's actually talk state of the Steelers. Okay? This team needs a completely new coaching staff. They're not getting it done. Except for probably Danny Smith, because he does one heck of a job for special teams. Offensive coordinator, I don't think he's the best fit for Pittsburgh. Defensive coordinator, not the best fit for Pittsburgh. Mike Tomlin, he's had, I guess, a good run in Pittsburgh. I'm not going to say he had a great run because he did have that one Super Bowl almost 20 years ago in 2008. That's really it. Then he had, then he made the Super Bowl in 2010. Steelers haven't made it back since. But they haven't had under 500 season under Mike Tomlin. That doesn't mean anything if they're not going to conference championships, if they're not going to Super Bowls. That stat is meaningless. It's not what you do in the regular season. It's what you do in the playoffs. And the Steelers haven't done anything in the playoffs recently. Nothing. They have 3 playoff wins in 15 years. That's not good enough. Not for the Steelers standard, at least. A historic franchise. A franchise with 6 Super Bowls, and they've had 6 Super Bowls for a long time now. That's just not going to cut it. Okay? Eagles, they had to part ways with Andy Reid because they weren't getting to where they wanted to. It wound up working for both sides. You know, and Andy Reid wasn't a bad coach for the Eagles, but they weren't getting the Super Bowl that they wanted. Andy Reid actually wound up having a great career in Kansas City, and he's still having a good career in Kansas City. I know they're probably not having the year that they want to, but still, they've had 3 Super Bowls in Kansas City, I believe. 3 or 4, I forgot. But it's time to move on. This team has been in the same cycle for 8 years. 8. Okay? And the same things keep happening. Maybe they'll start off strong. Maybe they'll make some noise in the beginning of the season and then completely break down in December. Or maybe it's the flip side. Maybe they play terrible to begin the season, and then they pick it up a little bit in December. It's one or the other. Either way, they're going to end up with a 10-7, 9-8 record, and if they make the playoffs, they're out in the first round. That simply isn't good enough. It's not. Okay, I do hear people saying that, well, the talent that he's had maybe isn't that good. Well, this, that, and a third, right? Talent had the killer bees. Arguably the best offense assembled in the 2010s. They went to one AFC championship game. Went to it. They didn't win. They went to it against New England. That's the furthest they ever went with the killer bees. Tomlin has had some talent on his teams. When they have the talent with Tomlin, they underperform. And I understand some years, like in 2019, they weren't even supposed to go in 8-8. So it's like there's so much inconsistency under Mike Tomlin, man. There really is. Okay. And by the way, I was someone who always defended Mike Tomlin really up until I'd say 2023. That's where I was like, okay, something ain't adding up here. When they went on that 3-game losing streak, against the Patriots, Cardinals, and Colts. That's when I was really starting to question Mike Tomlin. But this team has no life right now. The Steelers in the fourth quarter against Buffalo, the beginning of the fourth quarter, mind you, they're still in the game. It's only a 9-point game at this point. They already look defeated. That's a terrible look, man. So it's like, I don't know, man. I don't know what else to say about the Steelers situation because this is already stuff I already knew going into the season. There was nothing about last season that told me it was a player problem. When you have a collapse that bad, that's more of a coaching issue in my eyes, in my opinion. Especially when under the Mike Tomlin era, there has been multiple collapses in Steelers seasons. So I never thought it was a coaching problem. But hey, the organization thought different. They did make moves in the offseason that I wasn't really that much of a fan of. They got rid of Minkah Fitzpatrick for Jalen Ramsey. They got rid of George Pickens, who is a top receiver in the league this year statistically. They traded him for a third rounder. They couldn't even get a second rounder out of him. And by the way, the organization said that they were all in. But yet they go out and trade their best receiver that they've had the past few seasons. They go out and trade him for just a third rounder when they're all in. I'm not exactly sure what this organization is trying to do right now. I don't know. I don't. I didn't think going into the season that the moves that they made were good enough to make the Super Bowl, which if you're not trying to make the Super Bowl, I'm not even sure what you're trying to do. Don't get me wrong, I'm not expecting a Super Bowl every single year, but that's the ultimate goal, and they're far from it. They are far from it. Which is why I didn't understand the moves that they were making in the offseason. Now for the actual season, okay? They're 6-6, right? Coming off of 2 straight losses. The Steelers were 4-1 at one point. Ravens were 1-5. Okay? It looked like for certain the Steelers were going to win the division. Under the circumstances of Joe Burrow getting hurt, Lamar Jackson being injured, all the Steelers had to do was play good, slightly above average football, right? All they had to do was go 4-2, and they still, at this point, I believe, would have a 2-game lead in the division. All they had to do was go 4-2. Okay? But they fumbled it. They fumbled it completely, and now they're tied with Baltimore. And the Steelers on Sunday, they had another opportunity to get a 1-game lead over Baltimore, but then they lose again. Analysts were saying that it was for certain that the Steelers were going to win the division under the circumstances. There's a good chance that this team doesn't even make the playoffs. With the teams in the AFC, I think Buffalo's in the 7th team? something like that. So their real only chance to make the playoffs at this point, unless one of the wild card teams just starts losing, is the division, because the division's bad. That's really their only way of making the playoffs, is getting into the 4th seed, and I don't see that happening. I don't. And even if they do make it happen, I still don't see them winning the playoff game. It's just not going to happen. Because every time the Steelers are in a playoff game, they get completely outplayed and outcoached. Every single time. Every single time since they played Jacksonville in the divisional round in the 2017-18 divisional round. They've gotten outplayed and outcoached every single time. They always start off super slow, and the opposing team always gets a 3-possession lead. It happens every single season, every single time they make the playoffs. So why should we expect different now? Because they got Aaron Rodgers? Because they traded a few players away? Because they got a few new players? Like, why should we expect different from this team? Because so far, we have seen the same thing from this Steelers team. And only one thing has stayed consistent, and that's the coaching staff. I'm to a point where I'd rather have this team lose out than to have another 9-8 season and barely miss the playoffs, or make the playoffs for that matter. Because I don't think they're going to do anything in the playoffs. And that sucks to say, man. You know, as a diehard Steelers fan, that sucks to say. Don't get me wrong. But it's just not going to happen. So, yeah, man, that's all I really got. If the Steelers decide to keep the same coaching staff next season, we're going to see the same thing next season. And honestly, if they don't make any sort of coaching changes this offseason, that says a lot about the front office itself for the Steelers. Okay, because they're just stuck in mediocrity right now. That's all it is. We could say get all hyped with the winning records, which I don't see Steelers fans really getting hyped off of that. It's really more of the media and stuff like that getting hyped over it. It's not Steelers fans that are getting hyped over it. I know that as a Steelers fan. Okay? It's just the media attention of never having a losing season. I'd make an argument that the Steelers need to have a losing season. If that's this year, so be it. Every team at some point needs to rebuild. I'm not wanting a rebuild, but what I do want is change. That's really it. Will we see it? I don't know. Steelers have only had 3 head coaches throughout the entirety of the franchise. Are they willing to adapt and to finally try to make a move? Are they going to try to trade Tomlin? Are other teams going to want Mike Tomlin? We'll see. We'll see. It all depends on the ownership and what they decide to do. Because this season, I thought last season was a wake-up call. If what's happening now isn't a wake-up call, I don't know what it's going to be. I don't. That's all I got, man. I'll be live for the game on Sunday. Steelers-Ravens, 10 o'clock, Pacific Standard Time. I'm not looking forward to that game. But, hey, man, we'll see. We'll see. Maybe I'll go live for the Cowboys and Lions game, too, because I do want to watch some exciting football, because I'm not getting it out of the Steelers, and I haven't been getting it out of the Steelers the past couple of weeks. I'll catch you guys later, man. You guys have a good one.